Hey everybody. So this is my second video for Romeo and Juliet, and today I'm going to cover some of the language in Shakespeare because it's going to be a little different than what y'all are used to, because again, this is something that was written and performed almost 500 years ago. So some of the words are going to be a little bit harder to understand. Some of the words, they're just going to sound differently. So I want to cover a little bit of that. Then I'm going to cover the prologue, the beginning of the play. So we're going to go ahead and cover some of that. So the first thing I'm going to cover is, like I said, the language. So for the language of the play, what we're kind of looking for here, and this is going to be a page that I put up with this lesson so that you can read it and understand it. But what we've got, some explanation here. The play is written in English, but it's an older English. Like I said, it's 500 years ago. And there may be words that we're unfamiliar with. So this guide is going to teach us some things as we read the play. And what we've got here is you've got one side here that's Elizabethan, so the words that are actually going to be in the play. And then over here you have the actual translation, what they would mean today. Now, some of these aren't too hard to understand. You know, a foe is an enemy. But words like hark, meaning listen. You know, if this was around Christmas, you might be hearing some hark the herald angels sing. The translation of that would be like, listen, the angels are singing. So hark, whenever you hear that one, that's going to be listen. Hie, H-I-E, go. Hie you to Friar Lawrence's cell, I believe is one of the times that that's used in this play. Basically, somebody saying, go to this person's house. Mark, so if I say mark this, pay attention. Methinks, I think. Um, some of the other stuff, and we're going to get into it, I'll go ahead and move into it there. But if you're familiar with the King James translation of the Bible, which most people, I believe, if we're talking about the Bible, most people are listening or understanding that's the King James version, especially around here. You're going to hear a lot of the same words. That's because the translations were done very similar time, like almost right on top of each other with Shakespeare. So you're going to have a lot of those same words. So things like doth, you know, does, and especially your these and thous and your thine and thys. So let's bring this up a little bit, especially since I don't have my glasses on. I get a glare when I wear them, so it's very hard for me to see. But these and thous mean you when you hear them. So that was used when the subject of a sentence. So if you are the subject of the sentence, and thee is used when it's the object of the sentence. So thou knowest the mask of night is my face. You is the subject of sentence. She's basically saying, you know that my face is hidden because of the darkness. That's what that line means. We're going to get to that in Act 2, Scene 2, I believe. That's from the famous balcony scene. If you know anything about Romeo and Juliet, you know there's the scene where Juliet's on hanging out of her window, or you know, on her balcony outside of her bedroom window. Romeo's down in the garden, and you have the Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Blah blah blah. In that case, since he's saying you know that the darkness is what's masking my face, thou would be used there. It's the subject. And the other, if they do see thee, they will murder thee. That's saying you when it's the object. So that's Juliet actually talking to Romeo in that part. And she's saying, if they see you, they'll kill you. And in that case, they, the guards in her, around her house, they're the subject. They're the ones doing the action. So since Romeo, who she's talking to isn't the one doing the killing. He would be the one getting the killing. He's the object, so we'd use the there instead of that. The other one, thine and thy, that means your and yours. So, deny thy father and refuse thy name. So, your father, your name. If e'er thou wast thyself, then these woes thine. So that's like possessive. So it's yours. So your is thy, your or yours is thine. So some of the other things before we get into this, contractions. Now I'm not going to get into the full breakdown, but Shakespeare writes in a very specific way. In most cases, most of the lines in Shakespeare's writing, even in his plays, are 10 syllables long. Now, especially I talked to you the other day about how Shakespeare had his own type of poetry named after him, the Shakespearean sonnet. Those lines in those sonnets are 10 syllables long, pretty much exactly. So to make some of the words fit, he has to drop some of the syllables, or else you get longer lines. And so that's what we've got with some of these when you see contractions. So really it's just taking a syllable out. So instead of even, a 2-syllable word is Ian. Ne'er instead of never. And you kind of get that if you ever heard the phrase ne'er do well. That's the same type of thing. Instead of over, o'er. Cause instead of because, which that should be familiar to most of y'all. Most of y'all write the word cause instead of because. For instead of before, tan instead of taken, ha instead of have, things like that. So be looking at whenever you see those words, and as I'm reading them to you, I won't be pronouncing those missing letters. I'll be saying them this way because that's the way they're supposed to be spoken. But all he's trying to do is change his syllable counts. Another way that you'll see this in the opposite is in about the middle of the play, there'll be a time where Shakespeare starts using the word banished. But his characters will not say it as banished. They will say banished. And that's to get that extra syllable in the line. So there you go with that. So let's go ahead and get to the first line or the first part of our play. So what I've got here, and this is a link that I just put on Classroom today. This is a website called No Fear Shakespeare. It's from SparkNotes. And this is what's going to be your text. We would normally have the books if we were in the classroom, but unfortunately we don't have the books. So what we've got here, it's split down the side. So the page that I'll link to y'all is this page right here. And it's broken up into the acts and each scene. So it's very easy to get to. We're going to be on Act 1, the prologue. So what you have here is on the left-hand side, you have the original text. This is how Shakespeare wrote it. And then on the right-hand side, you have modern text. They translate it into what this would mean nowadays. So may be more beneficial for y'all to read this side here, but I will be reading this side here and then translating from things. So this is the scene, or this is the text that we're going to use. I'll have it up on the screen anytime that I'm doing this video, so you have it right there, but you'll also have the link to this to be able to go back to it, to fill out worksheets and things like that. So, the prologue. This is at the very beginning of the play. Before this, the first thing that happens, you have the chorus. The chorus can either be a group of people, or sometimes it can be one person that acts as the chorus. In the 1996 version of the movie, the one that I mentioned the other day with Leonardo DiCaprio, this is actually a newscast. So it starts with the news, and the woman on the news is actually reading all of this. In this, it would have been the first actors out on the play. You wouldn't have had any of the main characters doing this. It would have just been the actors on the play, or the actors on the stage coming out and delivering this. So, two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous o'erthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage. The which, if you patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. So let's break this down. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. So I talked in the last video, the kind of background information. We have two families, the Montagues and the Capulets. The Montagues are Romeo's family. The Capulets are Juliet's family. They're both alike in dignity. They're equal, almost in power, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. So this takes place in a city in Italy named Verona, and this is where the story is going to take place. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. So this is a long-standing feud. They've hated each other for a long time, ancient grudge. And it breaks to new mutiny. So there is now new fighting happening here. That's not just in this old, we hate each other. Like, fights are starting to break out again. So much so that it's making where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. So now, not even just the members of the family are getting into it. Like, the citizens and just the regular people in this thing, the lowly servants, are getting into this fight now. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. So when it says there, from forth the fatal loins of these two foes, the children of these ancient foes, you know, the Romeo or the Montagues and the Capulets, their children, Romeo and Juliet, they're star-crossed lovers. Now, star-crossed is a reference to them, the fates being against them. They were born in such a way that the stars, and if you know anything about like the idea of astrology, the zodiac signs and stuff like that. Basically, it was written in the stars that these two were going to be destined this way. Their fate was that they were never going to be happy. It was written from the moment that they started, no happiness was going to come to them. A pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. This one tells you right up front, and it's not even a spoiler alert. It tells you within, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines into the play. These two characters, by the end, are going to die. And not only are they going to die, they're going to kill themselves. Both of them will. So this is bad. This is the idea that we get into this, and it's a terrible grudge, ancient grudge. It's making the citizens fight each other now. The two children of these families were written in the stars that their lives are going to be terrible, and by the end of this, they die because they kill themselves. Whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. So it tells us right there that because of the crap that these two go through, And because of their deaths, it's going to bring about the end of their parents' feud. So they will join the houses. They will make certain that there's no feuding in the houses. As we find out later in the play, that this is one of the plans of one of the characters. He wants these two to get together. Is a character called Friar Lawrence that we meet in Act 2, Scene 3. Is a character that wants these to get together because he can unite the houses. He can stop the feud. And it does stop the feud, just not in the way that anybody wants. And the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage. So this battle, this feud that is so deadly that only the death of their children could stop it, is what we're going to watch for the next 2 hours. The 2 hours traffic of our stage. The which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. So we're going to leave some stuff out of this, what we're saying right now. This isn't the whole story. But if you listen to us, and if you pay attention to the rest of the play, we'll fill in all the blanks. So in this prologue, the first thing that we get, two households, the Montagues and the Capulets, are both as powerful and as mighty as each other. They're equal. We're in Verona. This grudge is ancient. It's been going on forever. But there's been something picked up about it recently that has made it to where it's even worse. It's getting worse. Out of this, the children of the two heads of household will fall in love, because it does say a pair of star-crossed lovers. So they fall in love, but it was never meant to be for them, and they're going to kill themselves by the end of the play. And that is going to bring the end of the feud. And it's going to take about 2 hours for it to happen. So that is the prologue. Hopefully from here you can see a little bit of the differences. I'm not going to read the modern text. When I translate this for you, in most cases, I'm just going to tell you what's happening. I'm going to explain it as I just did. However, as y'all read it, if this doesn't make sense, please read, this part right here. That's the part that's going to start making a lot more sense to you. But we're at the end of the prologue. Next scene, we actually go into Act 1, Scene 1, and we're going to start right off with a fight. So we'll cover that in the next video. What I want for you to be looking at now. So let's see, student workbook. Give me just a second and I'll pull up what I want for y'all to do. Okay, so here's your assignment. So here's our prologue. It's exactly what we just read. I want you to read through the prologue, look for any words you don't understand, look up their meaning. You don't have to worry too much about this. If you want to, though, I think since I'm sharing this to you as a Google Doc, you can highlight any of this that you need. The rhyme scheme, don't worry about that one. What do you think is the most important lines of the prologue? And hashtag, we use hashtags with social media. What are some hashtags that you think would be appropriate to go with this? The big thing I want you to do is answer these 3 questions. 3 key details that were told about from the prologue. And I want you to tell me in your words. Don't just copy and paste them or anything. What are 3 key details that you're told about in this? Does the prologue have more to do with love or hate? Which is happening more in this? Which are you getting more information about, love or hate? And explain it. How do you know? Give me some evidence. Just like our body paragraphs when we talk about essays. Make a claim, back it up with evidence. So the prologue has more to do with love because here's some evidence. Why do you think Shakespeare disclosed the ending right at the beginning? What effect does it have on you as the audience? So that's the thing. I'm kind of stressed this in the very beginning of this, 6 lines into this play. They give you the ending. They tell you up front, these kids are going to die. What does that do to you? Like, how does that work on you as the audience in understanding what's about to happen in this play? So, why do you think you did that? And what does it do to you? So, that's your assignment, is working on any of these that you can, but mostly going to be answering your 3 questions. So, be working on that. Until next time, everybody be safe. I do know that as of yesterday, I'm recording this on Monday the 6th. As of yesterday, we now have 2 cases of this in Giles County. So everybody be safe, stay indoors. And if you need me, I will be on here. I'll probably announce within the next day or so a day that I will be on Zoom or Google Meets. I'll figure out which one works best. And I'll just come in here into my office and sit here for about an hour. And anybody that needs to talk to me can talk to me, stuff like that. But if you need to get a hold of me, remember I'm at kdalton@gilesk12.net. Contact me, let me know anything that you need. And all this will be on the classwork tab on Classroom. So make certain that you're going there. All right, everybody. Have a great day.